We know many investors, but there's Klaus Hommels, who not only picks the right companies, he also has the expertise, the experience, the knowledge, and he's sharing with us his vision on what's happening in the ecosystem. And he does this traditionally at every NOAH conference at the beginning, and I'm very, very pleased about him coming again. Klaus.
Thank you very much. So, let's see where we are. Okay. I think I would like to give it a headline, a critical time, for many reasons. It's the first time that the internet is really matured to an extent that the innovations not only help traditional industries, but also go against traditional industries in a way that is very critical for the European ecosystem. And I would like to start. The hope I have that we can master it is because we have bubbles, or we have exaggerations. And everybody's saying, oh, are we in a bubble? Are we not in a bubble? I think a bubble is good. And the bubble is good for a very simple reason. Here you see the money employed by VC funds in the 2000s and where we are now. So on the first notice, we are very far away from the exaggerations we had at that time. But we are scaling up, and that is good. Because I think for the tech industry, we need to redefine a bubble. In my definition, a bubble in the tech industry is a short-term overexcitement of investors, which is critical to mobilize private capital to fund the infrastructure companies for the next development phase. And infrastructure companies is everything that we need to strive for the next years. You see, always when there were these kind of heavy investings, the biggest companies were built afterwards. So for every investor, if you stay in, it doesn't matter. The only thing that you mustn't do is being shied away if something goes away. So looking again, what does it mean? And why are these exaggerations and the mobilization of private capital so important? This is the chart I showed in 2014. And it shows the big top 20 unicorns and the average funding volume that has gone into it. So it was 514 million per company. In 2015, it augmented already to 800 million. And in 2016, 1.35. So meaning we need really, really a lot of money to build the real companies. And if you look here, these are the companies that we need in Europe, because these are infrastructure companies. They build an own ecosystem, and they are a fundament for a new mechanism in an industry. Be it Uber, be it Xiaomi, be it Airbnb. They all define a new industry, and they change the rules. And this we haven't yet created to an extent necessary in Europe, and therefore, as you see, this needs to be the aim, and therefore we need a lot of money to put it in. So this is also the reason why I really like the motto that Marco has chosen, support the European digital ecosystem. And that's what I want to also spend some time on. So here again some numbers, cumulative value into 14, 124, into 16, 334, and the total funding volume was, in between these 2 years, 31 billion. If we look at these 31 billion and then see what do we have as a funding volume in Europe, so for me it's also important to have these funding in Europe and not only from outside, then we see in the entire time the European ecosystem got funded with 19 billion, so which is lagging far behind. So the next thing I want to allude to in this process of building these companies, of transforming in whole Germany as an ecosystem, the VC industry will play a very, very instrumental role. And that's not talking pro domo. It is more, as you will see, pure statistics. The US VC ecosystem is roughly 25 years older than our ecosystem. And today, out of all listed companies in the US, 42% have been VC financed. These 42% VC financed companies now employ 38% of all people and represent 63% of the entire market cap. So if you fast forward that for the next years, what will happen in Europe if we want to build these competitive companies? That will mean that by VC financing, we will have to re-engineer and to shift hundreds of billions of market cap in order to secure the wealth from 2030 to 2040 onwards. This picture even gets worse, and the transformation from old economy to new economy when you look at the representations of market caps in the industry. So in 2006, we had that 9% of the market cap in the US were VC finance companies. In 10 years later, we had 60%. So the transformation of substituting old companies by new companies is accelerating more and more. And that is the challenge we have, be it for the big companies of the Daimlers and the automotive industry, be it of the 1,500 world market leaders of Mittelstand that also have their challenges. If you have what kind of implications and risks it might have, the leading market protagonists in Germany in the sectors have currently something like 64% market share. If we have some ideas that some other companies will take these market shares, we really have a very, very big menace in front of us. We can see that at the publishing industry, what has happened to them during that time, but the automotive industry, the first numbers, the growth of Tesla is going against the high-end auto production companies from German companies. So here also some numbers. I don't want to bore with you. It's a big, big impact that we are facing here, and we all have to work together, and that's why it is so important to connect leaders to support the European digital ecosystem. So I would like to do a little call to action. What does it mean? So we are all sitting in this one boat, and sometimes it's important that everybody knows what his role in this ecosystem is and deals with it in a responsible way. So the VC funds need to step up a lot. So there are some early signs that the volume that we have increases, but I still think we need a step change. And we are currently with the foundation that Ralph Donnermuth, Olli, and I founded, in discussions with politics to have a real step up there. The next part is the politics itself. So I think, unlike in other areas in Europe, on a European level, it is very important to be very close to them, and it's very important that the EU is very responsive and understands the needs of this ecosystem. With the European Investment Fund, the EF, the European Union, the politics have created a very, very interesting vehicle which is now responsible basically for financing nearly all the upstarts of the venture industry. KfW and BPI in France are also stepping up a lot. So it is visible that there has been speed, so it's going into the right direction. What could we potentially missing? So with Megan Smith in the US, you have a CTO of the US, and you have a clear responsibility on the political side for digital, which we do not have that in Germany. And regulation has in most cases here a negative impact, but it can have a positive impact. Because Austria, for example, were the only ones where betting was allowed. They have now a multi-billion betting industry, when everybody else doesn't have. And China proactively creates laws for drones instead of banning them. So these are also, the moment we would have an area here, a little city outside of Berlin, where drones would be allowed, then everybody would go there to do the live tests. So this I have on the politics side. Financial service industry, I think we need to be responsible. We have done some mistakes in the 2000s there by, I think, irresponsibly listing companies that were not made up, and therefore a lot of family offices that want to invest have been burned for a very long time. The other thing which you might not be imagine that it is true, if you go now to a big bank which has hundreds of billion in asset management, and every customer of the asset management business is asking, give me some companies to invest in digital. It's hardly impossible for them, for regulatory reasons, to address these people. So they have to first, if they talk to them, they have to do it with two people, so Vier-Augen-Prinzip, and then they also have to write a report, and therefore it's so cumbersome that nobody does it, and the money will not flow fast enough into the circle. Same for institutional investors that hardly take part. The press, I think the press has a responsibility in a way that if you look at it, every positive article is subsidizing marketing costs. So if by default a lot of positive articles are on the big US ones, it is implicitly helping them to gain ground for free in Europe. And every more critical one on the European companies is not really helping them. So I had an example where there was an article on Apple Music, and they said, okay, it's great. After 8 or 9 months, they collected 10 million subscribers, and Spotify took 8 years for that. So this is, and I wondered, why would you write something like this? Because, okay, Spotify created the market, and as a first mover, it always takes longer. And it was by a European publisher. The story could have also been written saying like, in spite of the fact that Apple has a very big install base, in spite of the fact that they have it installed on every PC in an Apple store, in spite of the fact that they have all the credit cards, Spotify still grew faster during that time. It would still be right, and it would still give more tailwind to the European companies. And now I come to this topic, corporates, which has been really tough one in the 2000s because the reception was not there. It has increased and improved a lot, but I still have some observations. Working former competitors need to throw over their vision of a competitor and work together. If in the 2000s, early 2000s, the publishers had worked together, maybe then they had a better position against Google. Same for the car industry, which did already first steps here. Second thing is that a Cisco or a Facebook or a Google, they buy hundreds of companies a year, being very fast in integrating innovation. We are very, very cautious in doing this. The most difficult one probably is that real transformation for the big companies happens by very unorthodox, probably at the time too expensive and significant bets, and our corporate governance makes it very, very difficult for those companies to buy these kind of startups because of this complex legal environment. So I want to say there is no finger pointing at this point. It's just an observation. There might be a lot of valid reasons why people did what they did, but which I don't know. But just looking at it from the outside, there was a Daimler that was at a very early time in my taxi and was with the 30 billion profits, they were very, very cautious in giving their money. At the same time now, VW invests 300 million in Get Taxi. If they had teamed up 4 years earlier and have given the 300 million to my taxi, we would probably have a pretty decent protagonist in the European system that has a total different infrastructure value, so that we missed that a little bit. Same here, so my observation is, for example, Telecom promotes in the hosting business a Microsoft, Huawei, and a VMware, and no European player. So there might be reason for that, but I think it is a long term, it's difficult because that's not a strategy to become independent from foreign countries. The third one is the startups itself. And if you look back imagine you are 25 years back and you're an entrepreneur. All .com names were free at that time. In 1994, somebody took the URL mcdonalds.com and wanted to graciously give it to them. But the company was so clueless that they didn't even want to have it. So whatever you wanted to do during that time as an entrepreneur, you could do the first search engine. You could do the first e-store. You could the first everything. The field was wide open. Today, everything seems saturated. Apps, platform, devices. Who would notice another innovation? But wait, in terms of internet, nothing has happened yet. It is really the beginning. In 25 years, let's fast forward now, most of the great products that running the lives of the citizens then will not have been invented before 2016. People will look at their holodecks, their virtual reality contact lenses, and what do I know? And they are right. The coolest stuff on earth is just waiting to be discovered by you entrepreneurs that say, no one told me that's impossible. These kind of people, the field is wide open for you, go grab it. And I want to conclude with the summing it up. Everybody, and please have the discussion with everybody else from the ecosystem, has to take up the challenge. So we personally at Lakestar, we employ double-digit, mid-sized double-digit volumes in our own funds in order to make these funds bigger. So we privately sponsor the Internet Economy Foundation and spend a lot of time with Mittelstands initiatives and exchange on political level to educate and to make transparent what we need. So both the chances and the risks have never been more exciting. Our ecosystem needs to act unanimously, and I would very, very much encourage and invite you to join this battle that we have in front of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Klaus.